Hi, you guys. So I just wanted to tell you that episode 134, part 2 with Courtney Kaplan is coming out next Sunday. The part 1 came out last week. It was really good. I released, I think, 36 minutes of the 1 hour and a half episode free. The first part is all Courtney Kaplan stories at Eddie Murphy's party, and Denzel Washington and Katie Couric. It's awesome stories. And then we move into her experience being friends with Raquel Leviss, also her pageant director and pageant coach, as well as model booker. And she shares her insight into what's going on with Scandival. This week, this is a sneak peek of this week. It's not out anywhere, but in this video, we're going to move on. And we are going to talk about some Lisa Vanderpump stories because she worked with Lisa Vanderpump on some charity stuff. And I obviously have some insight working with Lisa Vanderpump on the show. And we're going to talk about some TV tips that Lisa Vanderpump told us. I think you're going to find it really interesting. By the way, there is some seriously juicy AF Anon gossip that dropped today in the Patreon, or actually yesterday in the Patreon. So I'm going to do the same thing for you guys for part 2. I'm going to release the full episode in the Patreon, which is an hour and a half, and I'm going to release 36 minutes free on all listening platforms so you guys can get some of the gossip if you don't want to be in the Patreon. All right, because it's too good not to share. Have to. Remember, the Patreon should be updating with new stuff every day. If it isn't, your Patreon feed isn't updating, and you have to log out and log back in and your feed will start working again. So there's definitely something wrong if you don't see at least one thing a day. Let me tell you why I'm pulling this sucker up. We have a whole conversation about Raquel Leviss and drugs and alcohol. And Courtney explains to me whether or not she participated in any of that during her pageant years, like even socially, because Courtney was with her socially. I have a theory, which is that Raquel Leviss may have been taking pills during her confessional video and the reunion to relax her so that she wouldn't be, she'd be able to cope with anxiety in the confessional videos as well as obviously for the reunion. So I ran this whole theory by her, and interestingly enough, Andy Cohen seemed to mirror my thoughts on this in a Variety interview that he did recently to pump the Vanderpump reunion, from the production standpoint. And don't worry, I'm going to play you some of this interview in here today. Now, before I move on here, I just want to say one more thing. I believe that Raquel Leviss lied in the last 5 minutes of part 3 in that, whatever the hell that was, she had with her producer. And I lay out my case for that in the first 10 minutes of the show before Courtney Kaplan joins me to gossip about Raquel Leviss and Lisa Vanderpump for the remaining amount of the show. So I'm dying to hear what you think about that. I will put a link to, actually I can't put a link in here. Just search Dishing Drama Dana on all podcast platforms and it'll come up on Sunday. Okay, let's move on. Let's get into the subject. Okay, so I'm going to play this, but before I do, look at Tom Sandoval at Chicago Airport looking disheveled and almost missing his flight. Bravo, babe. Got sent the footage. I thought I'd share it with you. Just shows everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, don't they? Lisa Vanderpump just announced in the trades that she's doing a new show called Vanderpump Villa that she's executive producing. It's going to be held in the south of France. This and Vegas, she's got another show definitely in development there. So it's kind of like she's really booming with this Sandoval scandal, or Scandival, I should say. So Lisa's doing quite well on all of this. The show seems interesting. Actually, I think I'm going to like it. The show is going to be 10 episodes. It's coming out on Hulu. And the idea behind it is that she's going to pick a bunch of people from her restaurants to work at a luxury French villa where they'll live and work together, and they have to navigate every extravagant desire of their well-to-do guests. So in other words, Vanderpump Villa is a hotel or like south of France, bed and breakfast, sort of like below deck, but instead of a boat, they're going to be doing it in like a luxury villa that people can rent, celebrities can rent, or, highfalutin people can rent. And then we'll watch the drama unfold from the people who work in the villa and also are living in the villa as they serve these wealthy people. So cool idea. I mean, it's been done, but not to Hulu. So they're really excited, and Disney's behind it. It'll probably be pretty scandalous because Boone and Murray Productions is behind it, and they do, they're very aggressive in their production tactics with showing drama. So I have a feeling it's going to be very, very dramatic. Now, because it takes place in the south of France, this is the only show that I would go on as the old butler. So just putting that out there for Lisa and Ken to consider. Just call me Alfred. That's all you have to do to be Batman. You just go, la, la, la. Lisa Vanderpump is repped by CAA. They packaged the deal. She's so big time now. So Variety's channel, Andy Cohen and Sheena Shea break down Raquel's shocking Vanderpump, and it goes off into ... came out. It was trending for a little while, number 13, 14 on YouTube. And I was looking into it to see if there was anything really juicy in there. And there was like 2 things I felt like I wanted to share with you. Well, first of all, it comes out that Raquel Leviss and Sheena Shea have the same attorney. So Raquel Leviss hired her attorney to do a restraining order because she gets hit by Sheena Shea. And then Raquel tells her attorney she doesn't want to follow through with the restraining order. And Raquel brings a document to the reunion to prove it. But meanwhile, Sheena Shea is listening to her attorney tell her that she can barely go to the reunion because it's such a serious restraining order, and that they have to follow every procedure or she could be arrested by the police, which would make great TV but be bad for Sheena. This is what comes out in this Variety thing. But I mean, if you have the same attorney, I think he could probably trust himself, right? Something seems weird there. Sorry. And then Andy, chimes in that he, at the reunions, like Jerry Springer, is willing to throw himself in between people to protect the cast. I mean, Andy doesn't want to miss the camera moment where he goes, "Stop it!" Like Taylor Armstrong. No! Okay? Because when I first went on TV, I didn't understand that you want to come in front of as many people as you can because you get camera time, and it gives you a role on the show that's greater than what you would have without it. So of course Andy Cohen wants to come in between people. He's like another Vanderpump Rules character. Hold on, listen to this.
Okay, when Rachel is in the trailer, Sheena is on stage. When Sheena gets in the car, Rachel gets in the car. She drives this way while Sheena drives this way. It was a whole choreographed plan that was very frustrating. I did something that caused this, but I would have never expected it to get this far to a legal standpoint with someone who used to be one of my best friends.
Certainly, if there are 2 people on a reunion stage who are not getting along, I view it as my personal job to not let anything happen.
You backstabbing hoe?
Give my face gonna you up.
Bodyguard Andy.
I'll you up so quickly, Tom. You're a worm with a mustache.
My cards. And I think you saw that I had pretty good reaction time to James Kennedy, lunging towards Sandoval on several instances. And I was able to get him back. My cards didn't do so well, but that's okay.
So what's so lame is production leaked that there was a physical altercation at the reunion to get us all going a while back, right? But there wasn't really a physical altercation. I mean, James going up onto Tom Sandoval and doing what he does pretty much on every episode of jumping around isn't really a physical altercation. And there was also rumors that it might have been Tom Schwartz, which actually, oh, would that have been awesome for him to finally stop being such a scaredy cat Tom. I mean, geez, man, do something. You know, what would have been amazing is he like shook him or something. Like, dude, what'd you do to me? Yeah, I could produce this. But no, instead, Tom Schwartz, you know, starts to pops a Xanax and starts, you know, putting his hand in his face and all this crap so we can't see his expression. Dude, you're on TV. Andy goes on to say that it was really important they do the sit downs because they were scared that people might walk off set and not come back. It was such a volatile situation. They didn't really know where everyone's headspace was to shoot the show. And so that was why they did that. In case it happened, they could go default back to the one-on-one interviews.
You know, we were trying to figure out the choreography of the reunions and how this was going to play out, when we were going to bring Raquel out.
So the team
So NBC's producer is about to speak, and she talks about how every reunion they look at the seating chart, and I thought you'd find this interesting from NBC's perspective.
Every year for any reunion, they present what they think the seating chart should be. And this season, there was obviously standout stories, which we all know what those are. And, you know, normally the principals of those stories sit closest to Andy. And that's exactly how we had it.
Schwartz, you know you're moving over one seat.
No, he's not. No, he's not. Because I need a direct line to grab her by the throat.
When Raquel was on her way out, we actually audibled at the last second because Ariana had an issue with her placement. And while we don't take direction from the cast, at the same time, we understood where she was coming from. And it was more important to us that we actually had the exchange between the group that was going to be out there than for us to get into a conversation about Ariana's comfort level, which we're sensitive to as well. And it's one of those situations where, as much as, there's the notion that we're always dialing up the conflict and trying to make everyone uncomfortable, it actually is the opposite, where we have to, as human beings, consider the people that are on stage, the difficulty in the situation in the first place, and make a decision on the spot.
Alex really outdid himself on the bullshit in this interview, just saying. I mean, wow. This is the part that I really wanted you guys to pay attention to.
In terms of how he did,
talking about Tom
not
Sanders.
great.
When Tom made the comment that he did about, him and Ariana being intimate, but, her wearing a t-shirt and, how that wasn't hot, I think he was exhausted at that point. And I think he felt like he had taken a lot of incoming fire. And I think he made a really regrettable, stupid comment that was bad at the time. And then actually has played even worse than I remember it, which is saying something, because we all gasped when we saw it.
He was a shell of himself. Really, he was shaking. I've never seen him in that shape, but that was a bad line.
For her to do this to me, it has taken such a toll on me.
Now I'm thinking I should have wrote Sheena a personal note. So for her to sit there and see me sobbing and to just be buckling her shoe and watching blank stare, vacant, lights on, no one's home. I mean, bizarre. I could have never imagined that reaction because Raquel, who I was friends with, wasn't that person. I mean, I felt like she was someone who genuinely cared and could feel emotion.
I was worried for Raquel's mental health going into the reunion. I still am. But actually, when I saw how unemotional she was, it made me think she was either really medicated or really out of touch with maybe her role in everything.
Raquel and Sheena's different demeanors in their trailers, I think, reflect them on the whole. Sheena was really intense and really agitated, and I think one of Raquel's traits that is drawing a little bit of fire is the fact that she seems very level. And so I think in some ways that helped her that day because it helped her get through a really difficult day. But I think sometimes where it might do her a disservice is it seems like she's maybe not affected by what's happening.
Sheena is crying her eyes out, and she says in the trailer, maybe I should have written her a note. I found that very confusing, and it made me think that maybe there was something she was missing about what these relationships really were. It made me think maybe she didn't think they were as real as the other people thought. I didn't understand.
I appreciate Andy in this interview because he is not the producer of this show. He is much more authentic in his opinions of things and in his statements, and it comes across, and I really actually enjoyed him in this interview. So they go on, and they're, Andy's like, I'm glad she told the truth, and Alex Baskin's like, oh, it just goes to show how great our producers are that they got Raquel to spill the tea at the end, and she trusted him that much and went against Tom Sandoval and all this stuff. However, I don't think she did spill the tea. She didn't tell the truth in that whole thing. And that's what I take you through in the beginning of episode one. What the hell is it? Episode 134 this Sunday. I also believe that Raquel's on some sort of medication. Okay? Look at Schwartz popping a Xanax on stage. I mean, that's why she doesn't have reactions to things. It's pretty obvious to me. She's, taking pills. I've had many friends in LA take pills. It's really easy to disconnect when you're on them. And it would explain a lot. Now, this part, Sheena spills some tea, and this I really appreciated. She's basically like, everybody's going to come back to the show, but I don't know about Raquel. And I've heard her make this argument on her show before, but this time she really hones in on why she thinks it and uses a detailed example, which I've heard, kind of alluded to, but I've never heard her explain it this clearly. So I wanted to play it for you.
In a mental health facility.
This will come up on my show too.
I personally don't see her family allowing her to come back. However, I could also see her family being like, okay, well, if we really play up this victim card and, whatever they have learned about her at this facility or diagnosed her with, if we can, put that out there for the world, then maybe you can have a comeback. So I could see it going one of two ways, but I do know that at James and Raquel's engagement party, her dad said to Charlie's boyfriend that they were never actually going to get married. They were just letting them play house. And the second the show didn't work in her favor, he would pull her. If that's not the biggest stage dad comment I've ever heard, I don't know what is.
So this was interesting because Courtney had no interaction with Raquel's dad at all during her pageant years. He never was involved. And the mom was the front runner, the protector of Raquel, and the one that was championing Raquel in that circuit and there for support for her. She was very protective, per Courtney, of Raquel, but she wasn't a stage mom. She really prioritized Raquel above everything. So this interpretation that Charlie has given based on what her boyfriend heard doesn't seem to match what Courtney's experience was with Raquel's parents and the pageant circuit and modeling. Anyway, Courtney gives her opinion on whether she's going to come back and why she thinks it, and it's worth listening to. What I was going to say, though, is that Charlie was friends with Raquel from the pageant circuit. But I have caught Charlie now twice saying things that don't line up with someone who was also there at the pageant circuit. So I question Charlie's motives now with Raquel. I think maybe Charlie's making up stuff because it suits her because they had a falling out now. I would take what Charlie says with a grain of salt based on my research and my conversations. That said, a lot of people do not want Raquel to come back. They feel like her energy is not welcome. However, I know for a fact that Alex Baskin is going to work so hard to get her back. So the fans are going to have a seat and just accept that, like, at all costs, Raquel's coming back unless her parents completely nick the thing. And by the way, it's not going to be great with her cast members, because in order for Raquel to come back, she's going to require that she gets a sort of type of edit. I know this is coming because she's not willing to go through this again. So she's going to be like, the days of like, just edit whatever you want are over, at least for this season. And she's going to be making some demands in regards to the edit. And the other cast members are going to be very anti that, because they're not going to be comfortable filming with her, because they might go, well, she's going to get like a good edit. I'm going to look like not great because I'm expendable and Raquel isn't, because everybody wants to hear what happens with her and Tom. And that's why the producers are chasing, will chase Raquel. So I wouldn't want to be Alex Baskin. All right, you guys, on that note, we'll talk soon. I'm taking John on an adventure, so I may be a little quiet over the next 2 days, but then I'll be back in action. I'm going to be doing research. It's a research few days. My content's done for the weekend, so moving on to next week now. By the way, just want to say it. If anyone rents or buys out Vanderpump Villa, I would like to come. So please invite me, DM me. Okay, bye.